Welcome to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our longtime producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. If you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Two promo codes to be aware of. Bitesquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery free. And go to SodaStick.com, the great local apparel company. Use the promo code YouBetcha to get free shipping on any sized order. John Millea, as usual, is making the rounds. We have state tournaments going on. I hope to join John at a state tournament next week to do the show in person. Today, John is covering state tennis, and we will get to that. This is Preps Today with John Millea, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. Please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Great way to get easy access to all the shows right when they're tweeted out. It's a site dedicated to all the shows across our platform, and we appreciate you listening to any and all that you do. Thanks to our sponsors, Pizza Barn in Princeton and Bitesquad, bitesquad.com. Again, you can find John's written work at mshsl.org, John's Journal. So, John, let's start with girls' state tennis.
Yeah, we've got a tournament going on this week, Jim. As we're talking here Thursday morning, the team competition has ended. That was Monday and Tuesday. And the big story there was Steve Paulson, who's the girls tennis coach at Edina. For nearly 3 decades, he had announced earlier this fall that this would be his last year. He's going to retire from coaching. He's 57. I've got a story in the works about Steve. And the Edina Hornets won another state team championship this week. So that's 23 team state championships in 29 years for Steve Paulson. And they did have a streak of 19 in a row, which ended 3 years ago when they lost to Matamidi at state. And he's also coached 10 single state champions, could be 11 if Edina senior Nicole Copeland wins her third title on Friday, and 7 doubles champions. And Steve is just this down-to-earth guy. You know, he grew up in Northfield, went to St. Olaf. He kind of said to me, he'd been thinking about this for 2 or 3 years. He's the director of racket sports at Interlochen Country Club, which that sounds like a pretty good gig. But he said that just keeps taking more and more of his time. And he certainly has earned the right to decide when he's going to retire from coaching. So there'll be some big shoes to fill when he's gone there. And Steve Paulson, one of the great people in high school sports, wins another team title. Blake repeated as the girls 1A state champion. Edina is in 2A. And if you want to see some great tennis, Jim, you and I did a podcast last year from state tennis, and it's a great setup. The 2A is at the Baseline Tennis Center at the University of Minnesota. That's the other half of the Ritter Ice Arena. What a complex they have there. And the 1A is at the Reed Sweat Family Tennis Center just off Nicollet Avenue in South Minneapolis. And these are free events. You know, there's several high school league state tournaments that are free. I don't know if it's going to be that way forever, but right now these are free. You can walk in and watch some great tennis. Watching high school kids compete is really fun, and it's a good tournament. We don't have to mess with the weather. I see tweets from other states that are having tennis tournaments and even softball and some golf tournaments outdoors right now. You know, in Colorado, their state softball tournament is coming up this week. And they're maybe going to be delayed by snow, which, you know, if you're playing outdoor softball in Colorado in late October, you may have some issues depending on your elevation. But, we're pretty lucky here, especially with tennis, to have 2 great indoor facilities for that tournament.
Oh, absolutely. It was fun doing it last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon at one of the tournaments. Any more on girls tennis? Or do you want to get to the state soccer tournament?
Yeah, let's move on to soccer here. That's the other state tournament that's going on right now. We are in the final frozen throes of outdoor soccer in Minnesota. As I said today, we're talking on Thursday, and we have 3 days of outdoor state quarterfinals this week: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I've been out freezing my keister the last 2 nights at North St. Paul on Tuesday night. Wednesday night I was at Farmington, and I'm a real weenie. I'm old and cold. That's kind of my new theme here. I'm old and cold. But this evening, Thursday evening, I'll be up at St. Cloud State for soccer. They've got a nice warm press box. Looking forward to that. And we've had a good run here of great games, really great games so far this week. And next week, as I said, we'll move indoors. We'll be at US Bank Stadium for the state semifinals next week on Monday and Tuesday, and then all 4 state championship games, boys and girls soccer, Class 1A and 2A, will be played on Halloween indoors at US Bank Stadium. So that's going to be fun. I did tweet something from North St. Paul Tuesday night, one of the hottest items at the concession stand. Well, there were 2 hot items. One was hot chocolate, no surprise. But then for, I don't know, a couple of bucks, they were selling those little disposable hand warmers. You know, you peel off the wrapping and you give them a shake and they warm up. Those things were going out like hotcakes there. But it was cold and windy, and with all this cold weather for soccer, there was an obvious question asked of me on Twitter. What about playing soccer at Allianz Field, home of Minnesota United? You know, it's a great place. I haven't been in there yet. I've driven past. It's fantastic. And my reply was, I think everybody's pretty content playing the semifinals and championship games indoors in late October. And next year, the calendar shifts. Our championship games next year will be on November 5th at US Bank Stadium. So yeah, you know, and I think we've talked about this before. Allianz Field is great, but it's natural grass. If you put 6 high school games in there in one day and 5 or 6 the next day, it's going to destroy that place. I think probably the best option here is to have maybe some early season showcase games, high school games in there. I think that'd be a great way to go, just to let some high school teams and fans in there. Yeah, because you just can't beat up that turf. You know, we had the St. John, St. Thomas game there last week, the day before the United played a playoff game, and it sounded like the turf held up pretty well. But I don't know if pounding that turf, you know, for a couple of straight days with game after game is the way to go. But I think I can't imagine that within the next year, maybe the year after, there'll be some high school games in there, just probably regular season games, maybe a doubleheader on a Saturday or something like that, so the high school soccer world can celebrate in that fabulous building too.
Right. It is a great building. It's beautiful in there, and they have had trouble with the root system of the grass they put down. They've had to change it out. It's gotten beaten up. So I think the idea of the occasional regular season game makes a lot more sense than, as you said, playing 6 straight games in there where the turf's going to get chewed up.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe some of these questions are coming from people who don't realize that there's not artificial turf at Allianz Field. Right. I think that's part of it. Some people think every place has turf. Well, professional soccer uses real grass, and that's you can't fault them for that. That's the way the game was meant to be played. So, but like with our high school state tournaments, all these quarterfinals outdoors, they're all played on turf. That's mandatory. So, and we've got some great fields. I mentioned North St. Paul, Farmington, St. Cloud State, and Chisago Lakes. Those are the 4 host sites for the quarterfinals, and everybody's done a great job at all 4 of those places.
Absolutely. Let's get to football and volleyball, unless you have more on the soccer tournament right now.
No, we can move on here. Yeah, those are the other sports that are in earlier phases of the postseason.
Right. And before we get to the sports, let's go ahead and thank Pizza Barn. Family owned since 1983. It truly is a family. It's a family restaurant, and they treat you like family. They treat officials and high school sports people as if they're family. Every time we go in there with a bunch of, it's not, you know, it's for the whole community, but you see a bunch of high school kids hanging out in there. It's just a great place.
Yeah, it really is. You see grandpa and grandma with the grandkids in there having something to eat, and it's a fantastic place. And, you know, and they're known for not only for great food and great community things they do in Princeton, but their Thank a Ref campaign is just, they really picked up on that. We started that at the high school league a couple of years ago, just kind of an informal social media, hashtag thank a ref. And, and I get pictures of officiating crews from whatever sport it is, tweeted to me, and I always retweet them. And Jody Stay and her crew at Pizza Barn really have ramped this up with the pizzas they give out to officials. This week they had a home football game, home volleyball. There's pictures on the Pizza Barn Facebook page of these fine officials with their pizzas with the hashtag thank a ref written on them. And what a great thing. And the thing that I really like about that is that has spread now around the state. I see more and more schools. Sometimes it's a local restaurant, or sometimes it's just the school. We'll go out and buy some stuff and have snacks for officials at halftime and give them a meal to eat in the car on the way home. And that really started with the Pizza Barn. So what a wonderful example for all of us, how to treat officials and do good things in your community. We're just thrilled to have them be part of our podcast here.
Absolutely. And you find out more about them at pizzabarnprinceton.com, including their Pizza of the Month, their dining specials, take-out and delivery specials, and you can actually order online as well. And thanks again to Jody Stay. All right, let's get to football and volleyball.
Yeah, like I said, those two sports, they're just kind of getting the playoffs rolling here. We had in all the classes except the big schools, except 6A, they opened up Tuesday night. Second round game Saturday. This is a big football weekend. I'm going to be at football, I think, Friday and Saturday, trying to decide where. But the Class 6A schools, those 31 teams, have their first round postseason games Friday night. And the other classes, second round games Saturday. And this is a fun Saturday because there's a lot of afternoon football games in October, daytime football, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock starts. A lot of sections are still playing the traditional 7 o'clock. But I'm going to try to find a nice Saturday afternoon game to go to, and hopefully the weather holds out. And it's a fun time for football fans, that's for sure. And again, just like soccer, we'll have football state semifinals and all the prep ball games indoors at US Bank Stadium, which is it's a treat. And speaking of soccer, when these teams win these soccer games this week, and now they know their next two games are going to be indoors, whether they go to the championship or the third place game, that's pretty cool. You're out there, working so hard on a cold, windy night, and your prize, if you happen to win, is to play indoor soccer. That's pretty cool. So football teams will be doing that. That's the goal for everybody. And volleyball is just getting cranking here on their section tournaments. And I'll just quickly list the number one ranked teams in the final volleyball pools, which are done by the Coaches Association. Egan in 3A, Stewartville in 2A, Mayor Lutheran in 1A. And those are all three teams that we've seen a lot at state tournaments. So it's a fun time for volleyball. Sections are rolling, and it's just that time of year where every day there's something cool happening.
And a great thing about having those games at US Bank Stadium is, if somebody can't afford Viking tickets or can't get Viking tickets, you get a chance to see one of the great stadiums in the world, walk around. And the only flaw, I've been to all the football stadiums. US Bank Stadium, it probably is the best. And the only flaw with US Bank Stadium is for Viking games, the concourses get incredibly crowded. And if you go there for a high school game, you're just going to be there with your band of people and you can wander around as much as you want. It's actually ideal.
It really is. And I've heard from people, and I've done that myself, just walk around. I don't know if you can get up to the upper levels. I think those are closed off, but you can walk all the way around and it's such a great place. There's so many things to see in that building besides the football games or the soccer games. Boy, we thought the Metrodome was kind of dumpy. Boy, when this place opened, holy mackerel, we saw what a real stadium is like. And you still see people. How many years has it been open now? But especially at these high school tournaments, you see people. I like to stand by the gate and watch people come in, and you can always tell if someone hasn't been there before because that jaw drops and those eyes pop out when they walk through those main doors, and it's just stunning, and even if we've all seen it on TV, but until you walk in there the first time, it is just stunning. And you talk about cheap tickets, Jim, if you want to go watch boys and girls soccer, the adult ticket prices are $14, students for $9. And then for football semifinals and the prep bowl, adults get in for $16 and students for $10. And that's an all day ticket. You can watch all the games that are going on. So that's a little bit cheaper than NFL prices, that's for sure.
It is, absolutely, especially when the Vikings are good and the prices go up on the secondary market. Any more football or volleyball, or should we get the Hall of Fame?
Let's move on. Yeah, the Minnesota State High School League Hall of Fame ceremony, which happens every other year, was held Sunday in downtown St. Paul. This was really a neat class. There were 12 inductees, 11 individuals, and one team. And some of these big names people remember: